Break this down further with us. Joining me now, trial attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, good morning to you. So the judge considering a number of factors today as his defense tries to get him out on bail. Flight risk. How big of a flight risk may he be, given the fact his attorney has already said he came to New York voluntarily? He's cooperating.
Hey, Marnie, always great to see you. Yeah, look, this analysis starts with the Eighth Amendment. There's a constitutional right to not have excessive bail. That's in the Eighth Amendment. There was a Bail Reform Act, a federal law in 1984 that was created to not deprive defendants of excessive bail. So that's the starting point. So this district court judge is going to have to look at factors such as you mentioned flight risk. Well, P. Diddy actually relinquished his passports. His kids relinquished their passports. He's trying to sell a plane. He paid off a property in Miami. Why is that important? To show he's solvent, to put up the money. He actually offered, I think, a $48 million package for bail. And remember, Marnie, the primary purpose of bail is to ensure that a defendant shows up in court. So I think when this district court judge looks at a lot of these factors, he or she really should grant bail here. And another factor we got to consider, Marnie, is an appeal, right? Let's say P. Diddy is not granted bail and he loses this trial and he's convicted. Rest assured, his lawyers are going to appeal because he wasn't granted bail. Why is that important? Because I've had big cases, not as big as this, but some high profile cases where if your client's in jail, it makes it harder to prepare that case for trial. And defendants have a right to, adequate legal counsel to prepare. It's hard to get into the federal, penitentiaries to meet with your clients. And that's another factor that this judge should consider. Last point I'll make is, Marnie, you could always revoke bail. I think you start off safe here, let him out on bail. It's going to be a high amount of money. If he's out there tampering with witnesses, if he's out there being belligerent, then you go back to court at that point in time, then you revoke the bail.
The crimes he's accused of, however, are very serious and very violent, according to the U.S. attorney and some of the evidence they say they have. So if they were to grant bail, would electronic monitoring be something or house arrest be something you think the judge would impose to keep an eye on him?
Yeah, great point, Marnie. I think the ankle monitor would clearly be an option for the judge. House arrest is also a possibility as well. But again, this is a high-profile defendant. Where's he going to run? Is he going to try to travel somewhere? No, he's given up his passports. Do people recognize him? Most people do. So, at the end of the day, it's extremely difficult for P. Diddy to try to flee. And then, Marnie, people are minimizing this. But look, he did go to New York a week or so in advance of the indictment coming down, the grand jury indictment coming down. And that is behavior that signifies that he is cooperating with the process. I think that's another factor that the judge should consider as well.
Yeah, and then electronic monitoring. You mentioned tampering with potential witnesses. The other thing I wonder, what's your take on this, that he's the only one they're going after? I mean, these charges of trafficking, racketeering, likely involved other people, or at least other people knowing if they are true. Why just him in this case, and why so long after a lot of these allegations have come out?
Look, that's another excellent point, Marnie. I mean, look at the language. It's called racketeering conspiracy, right? The word conspiracy implies that there is an agreement among at least two people. So the federal prosecutors are going to have to arrest some cohorts here, or else that charge is going to fail. You can't just have one defendant charged with racketeering conspiracy. Remember, when you look through the indictment, it says, oh, there was a bunch of people that worked for P. Diddy that were enabling him, that were setting up the scene for these freak-offs, they called them, and that they were cleaning up the scene, that they were just helping distribute drugs to the women that were there that had to participate. Well, where are all those folks? Because you can't put together this kind of RICO case, it's called, without other people being put in place to make this alleged organized crime happen. So I was frankly surprised and bewildered at why others weren't arrested. And let's go one step further, Marnie. I think a tactical maneuver that would have been better for federal prosecutors would have been to arrest other individuals who were helping with this organized crime first, then go after P. Diddy, because then P. Diddy's looking at a bunch of people that allegedly work for him who are likely to try to cop plea deals to testify against him to prove up the case against P. Diddy. And then one other point I wanted to make is, look, the federal prosecutor who did the press conference, he was asked, how many victims are there? He kind of hesitated a little bit. He said, look, I'm not going to get into it, but I'll tell you there are multiple victims. In a case this complex with highly charged, salacious details, you're going to need more than one victim. Why? What if that one victim falters on the stand? She's not able to come through with that testimony you need. You're going to need other victims for this kind of crime. And it seemed like the prosecutor was kind of hedging on that issue as well.
Well, they say they do have video evidence, but of whom and when, we are yet to know. Trial attorney Brian Claypool, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Marnie.